Hi, I'm Chelsea Bovell,
And I'm James Grovo.
and we're going to be presenting to you a methodology called Kanban.
Kanban is a framework for agile and DevOps development focused on optimizing the workflow by matching the amount of work in progress to a team's work capacity. Kanban is Japanese for visual board or sign, and it's been in use since the 1940s, even by Toyota, which used Kanban to keep track of the supply and demand for materials on the assembly line. The modern Kanban method has emerged in 2007 by David J. Anderson, who is one of the pioneers of the method. And some important concepts that go into it are work in progress, lean manufacturing, which makes sure that only the amount of materials that's needed at any given time is being produced, which also is just in time. So some of the common and best practices of Kanban, the main one is the Kanban board and Kanban cards. The Kanban board consists of 3 columns usually of to-do, in progress, and completed, which the developers will move the Kanban cards into the respective category so they can visualize all the work that's being done at any given time. Another one is work in progress limitations. This ensures that the amount of things being worked on at once never gets unmanageable, and that the developers are using a pull system rather than a push system. It's also important to have a centralized and clearly defined methodology at any given time so that all the developers are on board and on the same page, which allows for self-organization and self-management. And then feedback loops in the form of daily meetings with the team so that each member knows what everyone's doing the day before and the upcoming day. And then service-oriented cadences, which are meant to synchronize delivery of service and decision-making for improvement. And collaborative improvement, which involve frequent changes to their method based on scientific proof and feedback and metrics. So some important concepts of Kanban are kind of 2 main categories of principles: management principles and service delivery principles. The first management principle is that Kanban can be added onto and work with any pre-existing method, so it's not disruptive to what some development teams might already be using. It also brings incremental and evolutionary change to the current processes, so it can be implemented with low resistance over time. And it encourages all members to show leadership, which allows for continuous improvement. The service delivery principles make sure that the team is always service-oriented so that they all understand at the end of the day what the customer wants. So they're focused on the customer's needs, expectations, and ensuring that all the team members are self-organized and are managing their own work so there's no micromanaging going on. And continuous delivery, meaning that they're releasing their deliverables frequently to the customer.
So this is an example of a Trello board that my group in particular is using. And so you can see work in progress here. We have a to-do section with cards for each group member that's updated weekly. And then we have our in progress and our done. And so these cards help us keep track of our work. So the deliverables that this methodology implements are pretty much you have your products and processes delivered continuously on an as-needed basis, and the due dates are determined by the business as needed. So with Scrum, you have an agreed-upon set of items to have ready in steady increments called deliverables, but that is not the case with Kanban. In terms of common artifacts, Kanban does not really have any artifacts that are required or even optional. So with Scrum, you would have your product backlog, your sprint backlog, and increments, but you don't have that with Kanban. There are, however, optional roles. So first, you could have a service delivery manager, And this person is responsible for ensuring that work items pass efficiently through the process by keeping an eye on the board and assisting team members when there's a problem. So the person in this role has to sort of facilitate continuous improvement within the team and suggest improvement activities. The service request manager is usually a secondary role of the team manager, and this stakeholder is responsible for managing the process policies and consistency, improving corporate governance, and reducing the risk associated with each single individual team member. Some of the agile aspects of Kanban are, so first of all, it's primarily a visualization tool, so it's not inherently agile, but because Kanban can be applied to visualize and improve the flow of work, regardless of the methodology being used to do the work, you can use it along with agile. And it allows for limited throughput, and this allows it to be incremental and agile. And it also has life cycle phases, which are limited by their work capacity. And then finally, it allows for you to respond to changes and transfer knowledge between stakeholders. So Kanban is best suited for projects with very widely varying priorities. And if your project is large scale with a need for one efficient shared space where everyone can view their shared progress, streamline processes, and optimize workflow with pending items moving to a completed state, this is an ideal methodology to use. And it's really useful for teams that are remote or distributed across the globe or the continent or time zones. And if you care about limiting your planning and meetings and being more delivery focused and product focused, this is also the ideal methodology. And it allows for continuous delivery of features and improvements rather than delivery and fixed releases and cycles. So some of the advantages we get with Kanban are you have a visual board, which is easy, which most people will find easier to work with. It's also extremely flexible and adaptable. As you can see, you can easily change cards and update them. And there's no need for meetings about status changes and updates because every card will show this information and can be altered easily. And it encourages previously assigned high priority tasks to keep everyone focused on the most important things. So you're never balancing or juggling multiple medium to low priority tasks. And it also unifies remote teams. Some of the negatives are that to tap into its full value, it sort of requires a cultural shift at the organizational level. And since it's often mistaken for just a simplistic visualization tool, you could run the risk of ignoring its very powerful conceptual elements. It's also highly methodical and result-focused rather than people-focused. So these are our sources. Thank you.
Thank you.